cool breeze over my skin. Floating above the ground. The sight I've never seen. And there's no one to make a sound. I see the bright blue sky. Through the clear ocean water. The darkness is disguised. Behind the perfect clutter. These are the lyrics to the Claypex song Chinta's Will. You all may be wondering, why did I read this? Well, consider this a starting point for the Amnesia series, and here's why. On December 15th of the year 2013, an Argentinian YouTuber named Sebastian Rodriguez came to YouTube with the AMV for the game prototype of the Shinedown song called Diamond Eyes, which I knew from when WWE Main Event used it for its first couple of years on air on ION Television, which was originally PAX Television. But the theme was replaced by the CFO $ song on my own when Main Event moved to the WWE Network and eventually Peacock. The song was eventually used for MMC in the 37th episode of Season 3 called Legendary Part 1, Darkness Arise. But in reality, these themes were used for these episodes if MMC was a full-fledged TV show, and I did not really use the song. If I had the license to do it I would, but I don't. Anyways, the video was produced on January 20th, 2014. 8 days later though came the first AMV he produced for the series Happy Tree Friends, using Flaky in the song I Don't Care by Apocalyptica, featuring Adam Gontier from 3 Days Grace. Most of these early AMVs came in the year 2014. The last 3 of these were AMVs for Bring Me to Life by Evanescence, from Daredevil and No Way Out 2003. The Chinta's Will song I mentioned earlier, the song wasn't in the title though, it was in the description, and Imagine Dragons Warriors, from League of Legends and Survivor Series 2015. These 3 would be the beginning of the style 719R would use for his later AMVs and eventually Amnesia. But between the releases of the AMVs for Bring Me to Life and Warriors came this hidden gem on September 20th, 2014 called Flaky. The monster within, and this in my opinion, was the origin of the Amnesia series, but there's a much deeper root to this as well, and it involves the Amnesia name, a game series called Prototype and a creepypasta named Zalgo. Starting with the obvious, amnesia is a deficit in memory caused by brain damage or disease, but it can also be caused temporarily by the use of various sedatives and hypnotic drugs. The memory can be either wholly or partially lost due to the extent of damage that was caused. There are 2 main types of amnesia, retrograde amnesia and antrograde amnesia. Retrograde amnesia is the inability to retrieve information that was acquired before a particular date, usually the date of an accident or operation. In some cases the memory loss can extend back decades, while in others the person may lose only a few months of memory. Antrograde amnesia is the inability to transfer new information from the short-term store into the long-term store. People with antrograde amnesia cannot remember things for long periods of time. These 2 types are not mutually exclusive. Both can occur simultaneously. The term amnesia was also used as a name of a Japanese visual novel series by Idea Factory, first released on August 18, 2011, for PlayStation Portable. It was also used for a text-adventure game written by science fiction author Thomas M. Dish, programmed by Kevin Bentley, and published by Electronic Arts in 1986 for IBM PC compatibles, as a self-booting disc, and Apple II. A Commodore 64 version was released in 1987, but the one use that interests me was the one used for a survival horror adventure video game by Frictional Games, released in 2010 for Microsoft Windows, Mac OS X and Linux operating systems, in 2016 for the PlayStation 4 platform and in 2018 for the Xbox One. This game was named Amnesia, The Dark Descent, which the term The Dark Descent was reworked for MMC Amnesia's original subtitle of The Dark Descendant. I know I left the C between the S and the E out, but that's how I named the term when constructing the MMC characters' infected forms. Anyways, the game features a protagonist named Daniel exploring a dark and foreboding castle called Brennenburg, while trying to maintain his sanity by avoiding monsters and unsettling events. The plot goes like this. On August 19, 1839, a young man awakens in the dark and empty halls of the Prussian Brennenburg castle with no memory about himself or his past. All he can remember is that his name is Daniel, that he lives in Mayfair, and that something or someone is hunting him. As he makes his way through the castle, Daniel gradually learns both about its mysteries and about his own past, through notes and diaries he finds as well as through sudden flashbacks and visions. The origin of his situation is a mysterious sword that he recovered from the Tin Hin tomb, which unleashed the shadow. Each of the experts he contacted and consulted in person about the orb was later found gruesomely dismembered. Realizing that the shadow was slowly stalking him, Daniel desperately exhausted all archaeological labs into strange herbs until contacted by Alexander, who promised a means of repelling the threat of the shadow via a vita energy, which could only be harvested from living creatures via extreme pain and terror. However, Alexander's true purpose is to use Daniel's vita-enriched orb to return to his native dimension, from which he was banished centuries prior. To achieve this end, Alexander and Daniel gathered vita by torturing innocent people that Alexander claimed to be murderous criminals. To maximize the production of vita, the victims were forced to consume a potion that induced amnesia, so that they could never grow accustomed to their torment. Unbeknownst to Daniel, application of vita to the orb further enraged the shadow, in addition to briefly repelling it, sealing his eventual doom. Increasingly desperate to escape the shadow, Daniel became sadistic in his attempts to harvest vita, and accidentally killed an escaping prisoner, a young girl, in a fit of rage. Following the final ritual, Alexander sensed Daniel's guilt and declining faith in him and left him for dead as a result. Realizing how Alexander had manipulated him, Daniel swore revenge and swallowed an amnesia potion in order to overcome his paralyzing guilt. As Daniel nears the inner sanctum, he encounters Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa, a man who had once studied the Arabs with a student Johann Wehr and has since been kept alive and imprisoned by Alexander. He tells Daniel that Wehr has been able to harness the power of the Arabs that travel between dimensions, and instructs him in finding the pieces of what used to be his own orb, which is needed to breach the inner sanctum. Once Daniel enters the inner sanctum, there are 3 possible endings. He can let Alexander succeed, then be killed by the shadow and descend into darkness, while Alexander tells him his sacrifice will be forever celebrated. He can prevent the portal from opening by knocking over its support columns, then leave the castle content with his redemption after the shadow kills only Alexander. Or he can throw Agrippa's head into the portal, which leaves the shadow to kill both Alexander and Daniel, though Agrippa promises to save Daniel from descending into darkness, calling upon Wehr to help him. Although the premise of the game doesn't raise any eyebrows about the Amnesia story, it still has similarities to that, like the dark themes and whatnot. But, what I think the Zelgo virus, that's what I call it, came from is the Activision and Radical Entertainment series, Prototype, and I think this along with the first AMV Sebastian Rodriguez produced, was the reason behind how Amnesia originated. Set in Manhattan, the game follows a powerful amnesiac shapeshifter named Alex Mercer, who must stop an outbreak of black light, a plague that mutates individuals into hideous violent monsters. During his quest, Alex tries to uncover his past while also coming into conflict with both the US military and a black operations force called Black Watch. Parallel to the game's storyline is the ability to play the game as a sandbox-style video game, giving the player freedom to roam Manhattan, and a sandbox-style open-world game type is what I envision my Mega Man Chronicles games would be like, organic though real. The game was a critical and commercial success, with critics praising the game for its originality and engaging gameplay. Many reviewers compared and contrasted it with Infamous, another open-world action-adventure game released 1 month prior to Prototype. A sequel, Prototype 2, was released in April 2012. Fun fact, the Black Light virus was a Japanese name for the Zelgo virus in Rockman Chronicles, Legion the 10th, which is the Japanese dub for Amnesia. I think the effect that the Black Light virus... Fun fact, the Black Light virus was a Japanese name for the Zalgo virus in Rockman Chronicles, Legion X, which is the Japanese dub for Amnesia. I think the effect that the Black Light virus had in the Prototype series was the inspiration for the Zalgo virus in this series, which is like, ironic in some way. Again, the term Zalgo virus is and always will be a plague that mutates individuals into violent monsters of darkness, and servants to the Zalgo Reaper. More on him in a later episode. Besides, that will segue us into the next segment. A warning to the viewers though, this next segment involves a lot of textual violence and scary moments. So if you're super queasy about the next segment, you can just skip ahead. Anyways, onward to the last of the 3 possible origins. According to the creepypasta wiki, Zelgo is a meme where a person takes a popular picture/comic and corrupts it, with scary results. People can also use messy text as a long way of saying Zelgo was here. Zelgo can be recognized in any context by the 2 words people say when Zelgo is there. And those 2 words were and always where he comes. Zelgo is a being that could best be described as a horror, a creature of utmost terror. He is known as he who waits behind the wall in the Nespergian hive mind in some circles. He is a nihilist abomination with 7 mouths. His right hand holds a dead star and his left hand holds a candle whose light is a shadow and is stained with the blood of a dagger. 6 of his mouths speak in different tongues. When the time is right, the seventh shall sing the song that ends the earth. Not gonna sing it here, but those lyrics are on the creepypasta wiki if you want to check it out. Zelgo is the brainchild of Dave Cowley, aka Shmorky, a Flash animator and something awful goon. It was first mentioned, but not seen, in parodies of syndicated newspaper comics on a semi-secret page on his official site. Since the meme spread, Shmorky has made several Flash animations, in his own inimitable style, of course, referencing it, including Zalgo. Oddly, according to him, Zelgo only affects comics, cartoons, and illustrations, not reality itself. Well, that certainly invalidates 99% of Zelgo postures. Unless, of course, he's lying, and considering MMC and HTF are cartoons, this also affects them. I mean, look at the posters for Mega Man Chronicles Plus and you see some Zelgo text where the release date and tagline are. But you guys can come out from under your bed sheets now, because this doesn't affect reality. Now onto that video where the origins of Flaky and Cheyenne Killer from Amnesia came from. Like I said earlier, Flaky, the monster with him, was released on September 20th, 2014 and it currently sits at 2 million views on YouTube. The basic premise for the short was to reveal a more darker version of the character. As with many animators, Flaky's design was altered many times. The first was the generic design by Mondo Media, which caused a lot of confusion on her gender. That was until it was confirmed on April 28, 2012 on the Happy Tree Friends Twitter account, in reply to a tweet. However, a little while after the confirmation, Ken Pontiac stated that Mondo still wishes for Flaky's gender to remain a mystery, leading some fans to question the reliability of the confirmation. Despite this, Warren Graff still believes Flaky to be female. The second design was used by Nikki, and this design gives Flaky ears and eyelashes. Originally bare ears and "You're Driving Me Crazy" she gained actual hedgehog-looking ears and Flaky celebrates, but to be fair, they look too similar to Lifty and Shifty's ears, which was the original design, because concept art of Flaky depicts her with visible ears. But this was dropped due to time constraints or animation limitations. Or they probably just forgot to add them. The more common fan design was a design seen in this video, which is the same as what I mentioned earlier, but she lacks ears. This design was also seen in episode 1 of MMC Cross HTF, but was changed to her no eyelashes design for episode 4 and onward. I think the Segment 19R design is the true Flaky, because of her having girl aspects and being voiced by voice actress Nicole Orber. Back to the video though, around the 1 minute mark, something happens to her, as we see her eyes turn red as she changes into Sebastian Rodriguez's version of evil Flaky, or Flaky in MMC terms. This more sinister version of Flaky's evil alter ego was also seen in the Warriors AMV, and eventually Amnesia. But for the MMC fans wondering where Cheyenne Killer came from, for some people, it was the MMC Cross HTF Cookie the Maverick wife, but my origins came from this, which I have for the end of the season called promotional trailer. Again, if MMC was made for TV and started in 2010, I did this because of the whole evil Flaky thing on the HTF fandom, and considering the Brandon and Cheyenne relationship is similar to the Flippy x Flaky shit, this was to relate both Brandon and Cheyenne to Flippy and Flaky. Well, that's all for this episode. Join us next time where we discuss the beginning of the Amnesia story for MMC, including Jared Hardis vs. Brandon Germain and the end of True Love Never Dies 3, The Perfect Storm. See you guys then.